Greetings all, I'm speaking to you this morning from the meditation rock at the bottom of my garden that looks out over the Blue Mountains National Park. There's so much happening at the moment and I feel we're overwhelming you with the amount of information that we're bringing you, and I find much of it really exciting. Let me just relate to you three stories that I want to bring to you in more depth this morning. One is, as you probably know, we've had a change of government in Australia over the last week, and yesterday the new Prime Minister announced his new look cabinet. And I think there's cause for some optimism there. We've moved from a administration and government that was constantly looking back to some glorious age in the past to one that's oriented more to the future. The second thing is, last night I spent time watching two of the videos coming from Cuba of Pope Francis's arrival there. After I finish this introduction, I want to show you at least a portion of the joy that was in the air at the huge mass in Revolution Square, I think it's called, in Havana, where tens of thousands of people gathered for the opening mass for the Cuba visit. The joy was in the air, was palpable from the people there and from Francis as he drove through these crowds greeting them all. The third thing that I'm going to mention is another video I watched last night. Last week I drew attention to one of Richard Raw and Ilya Delio. This one was one I discovered last night of a seminar given at Georgetown University. It was actually back in April, but it was only put on YouTube in June, and I've only discovered it in the last 24 hours, to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the death of Teilhard de Chardin. They brought together four of the probably the most eminent scholars on Teilhard in the world who are alive today, including Ilya. This video gives me enormous hope. You know, we have to change our whole understanding. One of the things I was supposed to be doing this week was filming this video at the Lyndon Observatory, and because of the sickness of various people and the unavailability of others, we haven't been able to yet film it. But looking at this thing that I saw from Georgetown University last night, this is exactly what it's all about. That, you know, it doesn't matter about, finding life on other planets. The knowledge we're being given today forces us to rethink how we think of our relationship to this entity that we label as God. You know, in traditional Catholic theology, we've always thought that God is unknowable, is so immense that we possibly can't get our tiny little heads around it. Yet some people believe they've got all the dogmas and they know God's laws and this sort of thing. But Teilhard opened up a whole new perspective. One of the things we brought to you on Catholica recently is this idea that God himself, herself, itself, is in evolution along with us. That we're not at the end of the, evolution and creation didn't cease when God created the Big Bang or when he created Adam and Eve. It is an ongoing thing. And John Hort in particular, in the video that I'm going to introduce you to, discusses this. Let me finish, this is taking too long already, because I want to make two contrasts. One is that the Georgetown University is some of the leading minds discussing this theology and how we have to change from this childish version of belief that we've had to something that better accords with what we're discovering through our telescopes, what we're discovering through our microscopes, what we're discovering through at the quantum level of creation. Contrasting with that, though, is this video of Francis in Havana. Totally different. These people wouldn't have a clue about this sort of stuff. It's a very pastoral, very simple. The gospel story yesterday was, who's the greatest, and becoming childlike in our understanding of the world. And there's a dilemma here that we have, that on one hand we have to extend our minds to try and grasp, where is this whole thing we called life or creation or the cosmos heading? What's the end destination? What's the meaning of it all? And at the same time, I think there's enormous truth in this idea of Francis, that it's a very pastoral process, and we have to understand the childlike wonder and the indifference of a lot of people to all this highfalutin intellectual stuff and thinking about all these theories of how God created the world and where it's all heading and so on. As I've written recently, I think we all need to become extremely, extremely humble, and that was captured by those 5 words of Francis back on one of his plane trips. And somebody asked him about homosexuality, and he said, "Who am I to judge? Who am I to judge?" I don't pretend to have all the answers, is effectively what he's saying. And I think we all have to have that attitude. We don't know the answers. This human sexuality thing, male and female, we all thought, it was black or white, you're male or female. We're discovering that it's a spectrum. The science is telling us that. It is not black and white. It is not simply male and female. We find that in God's plan, some people are created with indeterminate sexuality. And we need to take into account all this stuff. So Francis is dead right. Who am I to judge? Who are any of us to judge? We have to become very humble in what we think we know about this wonderful existence we all live in called life or creation. I'll write more about these videos that I want to introduce you to, and I'll put that up on the forum. Thank you.